we want to keep this fluid dry, and a way to do it is to insulate it from the environment where it would get the water, right?
Correct.
So that's where we start talking about headspace dryers.
So we make a vacuum dehydrator, but we recommend a headspace dryer because we're looking out for the customer and the upfront cost. They can both work, but the headspace dryer is really effective with phosphate ester.
Yeah, the headspace dryer is very, very effective as a maintenance item. Now, if the customer had a cooler leak or something where there was a really high ingression rate, we would talk about another technology. But like you said, what we want to do is provide the most cost-effective solution that's going to give the best results. Same thing that we talk about with filters, we're going to talk about which technology is the most appropriate for your application. The thing I really like is that in our offering is we have a headspace dryer that has a nitrogen generator. So we talked about water accelerates oxidation. Well, oxidation is a reaction that takes place in the presence of oxygen. So if we can keep the oxygen out, if we can keep the water and the oxygen away from it, now we've drastically reduced the rate of oxidation. So when we put dry nitrogen on the top of that, and the way to look at it, if you have a reservoir, there's always what's called a headspace in the top of it, right? And what that headspace allows is as actuators move in and out, you have to have room for the fluid to move up and down. Well, in that headspace, you have air. If there's a lot of humidity, the fluid's going to pull that in. So what we want to do is get it dry. Now, an interesting thing is things are always moving. You're either on one side of equilibrium or the other. You're on one side of a saturation point or another. So if we put dry enough air in there, not only are we keeping it from pulling water out of the moisture into the oil, we can actually pull the water out of it. So that's why we call it a dryer. We're not just insulating or protecting, but we're actually pulling the moisture out. Well, if we can remove the oxygen, then it doesn't have anything to react with. You put nitrogen in, which is an inert gas that doesn't react well. There's nothing for the oil to react with. You drastically reduce the rate of acid production.
Correct.